What is your reaction to this redefining of our asylum laws by Attorney General Jeff Sessions?
Obviously, these are stories that break your heart, and it's obvious that Congress needs to step in and clarify exactly who our asylum laws are supposed to benefit. Traditionally, asylum in the United States has been reserved for those fleeing persecution for their political beliefs, people who have been tortured for political dissent. But obviously, the courts have expanded that definition, and I think every American is sympathetic to any woman or any individual fleeing this type of violence. I think there's some valid questions too, Katie. For example, if someone is fleeing a Central American country because they don't feel safe there and they're in Mexico today, why can't they claim asylum in Mexico? You hear a lot of people ask that question. Can the United States afford to welcome in every person from all over the world that is fleeing this type of situation? We really need to find a healthy balance, which is one of the reasons why we're trying to get immigration reform out of the U.S. House of Representatives for the first time in at least over a decade.
Well, let's talk about that. I know there's an effort to force a vote on DACA. Last I heard, you guys were 3 signatures away. This includes Republicans and Democrats, if I'm correct. Where does that effort stand? Is it going to work?
We're 3 signatures away. We have 2 opportunities to get our discharge rule, the bills that we want to take to the floor, debated either June 25th or a date in July. If we want to hit the June 25th date, we need to have the signatures by today. But there's a parallel process that's ongoing, negotiations among House Republicans. And today there's a meeting at 5:30 just behind me here at the Speaker's office. And I think that meeting will be crucial. I think members in that meeting will know whether House Republicans are serious about bringing immigration legislation to the floor that includes a solution for young immigrants brought to our country as children, dreamers, and also border security and other components that are important to the administration. If House Republicans are serious about it, I think we may get legislation on the floor here very soon, and some members may decide that the discharge petition isn't the way to go. If there's dithering at this 5:30 meeting, if there's no progress, I think you're going to see some Republicans say enough is enough, join the 23 of us who have already signed and force this debate on the House floor. My goal, Katie, has been we're going to debate immigration legislation on the floor of the House one way or the other.
Well, we're going to keep an eye on that. What do you make of Republican leadership, their attitude that if it's not a bill the president will sign, they're going to not bother sending it to him? I thought there were 3 branches of government that had equal power.
Yeah, I question that line of thinking because we pass a lot of bills out of the House that either the White House is silent on or that we don't really think can pass the Senate, but we move them out of here anyway. I understand the Speaker. If we're going to go through an immigration exercise, which is controversial and complicated, he wants it to be worthwhile. He wants to make law, and I do too. I'm not interested in just having a vote here so we can go back home and say, well, we had this vote and I voted this way. The goal is to actually find a solution for these young people who, by the end of the year, could find themselves having no protections in our country. So yeah, I understand what they're saying. I'm not enamored with that excuse, but ultimately I think we all want to make law here, Republicans and Democrats, and if we can get a law passed that the White House is willing to sign, that's certainly better than just having a messaging vehicle that people are going to use for campaign ads.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.